Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. What's going on, guys? Word to my brethren all around the world watching this video. Hope you're having a great day today. As you're tuning in, make sure you do yourself a damn favor. Hit that subscribe button, and surely you will not be disappointed. God dang, it's been way too long since I said that, so I'm a little rusty when I say it. But anyway, what's going on, guys? Hope you're having a great day today. Well, I wanted to, I'm kind of behind. I know we got the we got a big card tomorrow. I won't be live for that one because I have to go to work. Saturday, I will more than likely be live for the Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner fight. So make sure you come on to True School Sports for all that good stuff. But I wanted to talk about this past Saturday's fight because I didn't do any videos on it, and this is a fighter that I really have spoken highly of, and he went out there and he validated a lot of what I've been saying about him for a couple years now, and that's Caleb Plant. He had his big fight for the IBF super middleweight title with Jose Uzcategui, and just to kind of go back and revisit the fight and look at what happened in the fight, I thought Caleb performed brilliantly. He was really good in the fight. He won a unanimous decision, so big shout out to him on becoming a world champion. He's had a long, hard road to get here. The story's been pretty well documented. If you followed him, he lost his daughter, and he had a rough life in Tennessee. And pretty much he's been the underdog his whole life, and he won the world title. So big shout out to him. And the crazy thing is, even early in his pro career, a lot of people really weren't checking over Caleb Plant. They didn't think he was going to be much of anything, because they just saw a slick boxer, but they thought he didn't have a lot of power. They saw him as cocky for not fighting anybody. But I've been telling you guys for years, this is one of the very few guys in the PBC stable that has, as far as when he was a prospect, I was saying this is one of the only guys that I think has a chance to be not just a world champion, but a good world champion, a guy that can get the belt, keep the belt, and beat some good opponents while he has the belt. And just to go back and revisit the fight, man, I thought this is the fight where Caleb Plant put it all together, man, because in all of his fights, pretty much in all of his fights leading up to this moment, whether we go back and we watch his fights against Juan de Angel or Porky Medina or any one of the lesser known fighters that he's beaten so far, he hasn't been put in a position to where he's had to show his complete skill set. You see what I'm saying? The guy, I saw him spar. If you've heard me talk about Caleb Plant, you may have heard me say I saw him spar a couple years ago, and I did. I had the honor to watch this man spar back in February in Las Vegas, during my first visit ever to Las Vegas. I went to Johnny Toko's gym. Big shout out to Johnny Toko's gym, Luis Manda, John Maynard Roberts, just great people down there at Johnny Toko's gym. But I saw him spar at Johnny Toko's gym against a couple of lightweights and welterweights and a couple middleweights. And in that sparring session, I saw a Caleb Plant that we had yet to see in the ring to that point. I saw him in there fighting in the pocket. I saw him stepping to his opponents. And it was funny because watching the Jose Uzcategui fight, it took me back to watching that sparring session. We saw him against Jose Uzcategui. We saw him fighting going forward. We saw him fighting going backwards. We saw him finding ways to land the left hook. He actually scored 2 knockdowns with the left hook. He doubled up on the jab. He tripled up on the jab. He showed that not only can he fight, but he can fight and fight successfully in many different ways. And I think because he can do that, when you can fight in many different ways and have success in many different ways, you can also win rounds in many different ways. And when you're a fighter like that, that's a very dangerous fighter to beat. That's a very hard fighter to beat, and Caleb showed that on the night. He took advantage of Jose Uzcategui, who seemed to just be looking for that one big punch. Despite Uzcategui being the longer fighter, being the fighter you be led to believe would be more committed to his jab, he really wasn't throwing much of a jab. He wasn't jabbing all the way on the inside, and he made Caleb Plant's life a lot easier. When he did throw his jab, Uzcategui, he was able to land it. But it was just so few and far between, and allowed Caleb to control the majority of the rounds. Caleb's lateral movement, his speed, just the right touch of power won him this fight. And if I had one criticism of Caleb Plant, there really wasn't a whole lot to criticize, because this guy, at least for the first 8 to 9 rounds, he looked like $1 million. The guy looked fantastic. But if I was someone, like if I was David Benavidez, if I was one of these other top super middleweights that are going to be looking to take that title off of him, one thing that I would be able to draw confidence from in this fight is that, towards the later rounds, I would say towards the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th rounds, I would say Caleb Plant began to fade a little bit. You know, he definitely wasn't as strong in the latter rounds as he was in the earlier rounds, as is the case for most fighters. But when you get to that world championship level, you know, things like that can come to bite you in the behind. I was having a conversation with my boy Sean Zattel of Fight High. Big shout out to Sean Zattel. And before this fight happened, he said, you know, one thing I like Caleb, but he said he was telling me about how Caleb in some of his fights tends to fade in later rounds, and I was like, oh, well, I don't know about that one, you know, because to this point we had never really seen Caleb tested like he was against Uzcategui. But in this fight, I kind of saw what he was saying, and you know, I still think Caleb, and I've always thought, even before won the title, I think Caleb could beat David Benavidez. I think he'll be a problem for any super middleweight out there, whether we're talking Callum Smith, whether we're talking James DeGale, whether we're talking, you know, David Benavidez. You know, I think he's that good. I think he is that good. I still think that there's another level he can get to as a fighter. But in this fight against Uzcategui, you know, he was able to show, the main thing I took from this fight, as I take from most of his fights, is ring generalship, being able to control the ring, the middle of the ring, where the fight is fought, how it's fought, the pace it's fought at. Every time I watch him fight, these are the things that I leave the fights thinking about with Caleb Plant. And you know, he did it against a good fighter in Uzcategui. You know, this is also a guy Uzcategui who, you know, it was a bit, I don't want to say it was easy to pick the fight, but what made it a little easier picking this fight was the fact that, you know, he's been outboxed before. We saw him get outboxed a couple years ago when he fought Matthew Korobov. And, you know, Matthew Korobov is a fantastic boxer, you know, good amateur experience. But Matthew Korobov, as far as athletic ability, lateral movement, he doesn't bring that to the table to the degree that Caleb Plant does. You see what I'm saying? And I knew that Caleb Plant had just the right amount of power to keep Uzcategui honest. And where Uzcategui really went wrong was just abandoning the jab, like just not throwing it at all, not even like trying to throw it. So we'll see, man. We'll see what Uzcategui goes from here. I will say this: there was a lot of trash talk in the build up to this fight between both, but towards the end, man, I love the respect that Caleb showed Uzcategui. I like the respect that Uzcategui showed Caleb Plant. They both have something in common, as they both have lost their daughters. While the daughters are very young, so both their daughters passed away and whatnot. And Caleb Plant, I think something happened with Jose Uzcategui's brother, where something where he's not going to stay in America, or he doesn't have a problem staying in America. But Caleb Plant offered to help. There's a video on Instagram, and I just thought like the respect that he was shown between the two is what I like the most. And as for Caleb Plant moving forward, like, what's next for him? You know, that's the question we got to ask ourselves. Give me 1 second. We have to ask ourselves, what's next for him? There's been a lot of talk about him maybe fighting Callum Smith. I would love that fight, you know, and I think that's a fight right there, even more so than the Uzcategui fight, that would really test Caleb Plant's boxing abilities. Because when we talk about Callum Smith, we're talking about a guy that's extremely long, rangy, can punch, confident, undefeated, been in some pretty good fights, been in there with the likes of George Grove, so he's got some good experience under his belt. And I don't think Caleb Plant's fought anybody as who has the kind of boxing ability that Caleb Smith has. And I think it would put Caleb Plant's lateral movement, his footwork, his just the way he takes angles to land his punches, it would put that all on the test. So I would love to see that fight, just because I want to see just how good is Caleb Plant. Is he really? I mean, I know he's good. I've always known he's been a world championship caliber fighter. He's proven that. But now, can he go in there and outbox a guy like Caleb Smith, or even better yet, can he stop a guy like Caleb Smith? You know, that's what I look forward to seeing. But overall, just with this fight, if I had to give Caleb Plant a grade as to what I saw in this fight with Uzcategui, I'm gonna say he definitely gets a B. I'll give him a solid B, because I can't call it an A, because I think in the latter rounds he began to fade a little bit. The first 8 or 9 rounds you gotta give him an A, but the championship rounds matter so much at the world championship level. And I just think, like, look, if I'm a Caleb Plant future opponent, it's something that I would take confidence from. But that's not a knock on him. I think as he continues to get better And as he continues to step up levels and be in big fights, you know, you will get more accustomed to this kind of thing, and you will get better as a fighter. So, Caleb Plant scores the unanimous decision victory over Jose Uzcategui, takes his IBF title, dominates him for the first 8 to 9 rounds. Pretty much, he had the fight sewn up around the 8th or 9th round. He pretty much had put the fight to bed. All it was about was just getting to the scorecards or stopping him, and he was able to get to the scorecards, and he got the decision. So it's a great story. It's a fantastic fighter, a nice guy from the one time I met him, and I look forward to seeing what he can do in the 168-pound division, because I think now it has a chance to be his time. I think it has a chance to be his time because there really are only a few high quality fighters at 168. I think the only 2 guys I think can beat him are Benavidez and Caleb Smith. If we ain't talking those 2 guys, I think Caleb Plant beats everybody else. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe. Like I say in every single video, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just giving Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.